Hi everyone and welcome to today's video. This is a B1 level business English lesson, and today we're going to be talking about the cultural differences, communication style when doing business internationally, and we'll also be looking at the second conditional. Alright, so think about your own experiences and you can write your answers to the questions in the comments to generate some discussion. So what are the advantages of doing business internationally, and what challenges can there be? So we've got a few vocabulary words. You can match the definitions to the words. Pause the video and try this on your own, and then restart when you're ready to check your answers. So a state of peace and agreement is number 3, harmony. An important stage in doing something is number 4, a milestone. A situation when people or groups strongly disagree, that's number 1, conflict. Without speaking is number 2, nonverbal. To send information to somebody else is number 6, to relay. And to have information about what is happening is number 5, to keep track of. Now complete the sentences with the words from the boxes, and you might need to change the form of some of the words. You can pause the video, try this on your own, and then restart when you're ready to check your answers. After I read the report, I relay the most important information to my boss. Agreement on a price was an important milestone towards finally signing a contract. There has been a lot of conflict in our team recently due to differences in salary and working hours. His smile showed me his nonverbal agreement. We keep detailed records of all purchases and sales so that we can keep track of our money. And there is harmony in our office because we all respect each other. Now imagine someone offers you a drink and discuss the questions. How would you respond if you wanted a drink? How would you respond if you didn't? And do you think that this is the same in all cultures? Why or why not? And you can type your ideas in the comments. So now we're going to read the first half of a magazine article about being polite and then answer the questions. You can pause the video and read on your own, or you can follow along as I read. Being polite in different languages. In some Middle Eastern countries, if you go to someone's house and they offer you a cup of tea, it is not polite to accept right away. Instead, you should say no a few times, each time a little less strongly, which means that you actually do want a cup of tea. For some, this might seem strange. I mean, why wouldn't you say yes if you wanted a cup of tea? Every culture communicates in a different way. One of the biggest differences is whether a culture is more direct or indirect when they speak. Here, the guest needs to adapt to the indirect style of communication, which is more common in parts of the Middle East. So how should you respond in some parts of the Middle East if you want a cup of tea, and why? So you should say no a few times, each time a little less strongly. And that's because of their indirect communication style. And what expression does the author use to describe this communication style? As we said, it's indirect. Direct or indirect. Now we'll read the second half of the article. Maya Grover, a cross-cultural consultant from the US, discusses the differences in her book, Speak My Language. In cultures with a direct communication style, people say what they mean, Grover states. She explains that their language is honest, simple, clear, and efficient. Direct people are less afraid of conflict. They are comfortable disagreeing with others when it is necessary. In the US and most Western cultures, direct communication is the most common. In cultures with an indirect communication style, Grover explains this. People might say one thing but mean something else. She describes how nonverbal communication, like eye contact and body language, are important for understanding the meaning of a message. Being indirect is a way of showing respect and keeping harmony in the group. Grover provides an example. If I were Japanese and I disagreed with a colleague, I might say something like, "Let me get back to you about that," and they would know that I disagreed. But if I were Swiss and I disagreed with a colleague, I would say something like, "I see what you are trying, or I see what you are saying, but I don't agree." At the end of the day, the meaning is the same, but the way of saying it is completely different. So who is Maya Grover and where is she from? Well, she's a cross-cultural consultant from the US. What is a direct communication style? It's a style where people say what they mean. Their language is honest, simple, clear, and efficient. And the US is probably the best example of a country that uses this style. And what is an indirect communication style? Um, it means that people might say one thing and mean something else, but you also have to be aware of their nonverbal communication, like eye contact and body language, and that being indirect is a way of showing respect and keeping harmony. And Japan might be an example of a country that uses this style. And what do you think? The expression "at the end of the day." Um, It just means to kind of to summarize or to sum up. It's sort of a phrase to tie the examples that she's given together. Now think about your own experiences and answer the questions below, and you can do that in the comments. Give an example of a difference in communication style from your own experience. Were there any issues caused by the misunderstanding? If so, how are these issues resolved? And how can these issues be avoided? So look at the sentence from the text and answer the questions. If I were Swiss and I disagreed with a colleague, I would say something like, "I see what you are saying, but I don't disagree." So is Maya Swiss? No, she's not. Did she say, "I see what you were saying, but I don't agree" to somebody? No, she's saying this was what would happen if she disagreed. And what verb forms does she use in the sentence? She uses simple past, and then the modal verb would with the infinitive say. So we use the second conditional when we imagine a situation and a result in the future that is unlikely, unreal, or impossible. So in the example that we just looked at, Maya is not Swiss, she is American, and she is imagining the situation. Here, this man says, "If I became CEO of this company, I would give everyone a pay raise." So he is not CEO, and it is very unlikely that he will become the CEO. And again, he is imagining a situation. Now look at how we form the second conditional. We have an if clause and a result clause. The if clause is if with the past simple, and then either would, wouldn't, could, or couldn't plus a verb. So if I became CEO of this company, I would give everyone a pay raise. If I had more time, I wouldn't need to rush. And if I were Swiss, I would say something like XYZ. So in formal business English, we usually use were and not was in second conditional if clauses for all subjects. You will, however, hear people use was sometimes. So now we're going to look at the examples of first and second conditionals. How are their meanings and forms different? So here she says, "If I see John later, I will talk to him about the sales data." So this is a real situation. It's likely that she will see John at some point in the near future, and very likely that she will talk to him. So it's not an imaginary situation. It's a situation that can really happen in the future. And for this she's using the simple present and then the simple future. But here, if I became CEO of this company, I would give everyone a pay raise. Here, he uses the simple past and the modal verb would plus the infinitive give. And here he is talking about an imaginary situation, something that isn't likely to happen. The conditional form used sometimes tells the speaker's opinion about what they are saying. Here he says, if I finish early, I will have time to help you. And he means that I think it is possible that I will finish early and help you. Here he says, if I finished early, I would have time to help you. And he actually means, I think it is impossible or very unlikely that I will finish early and help you. Now complete the second conditional sentences with the correct form of the verbs in parentheses. You can pause the video, try this on your own, and then restart when you're ready to check your answers. If you came to work earlier, you wouldn't have to rush so much in the mornings. If she asked for help, it would be easier for her to finish on time. If we reduced our prices, we would be able to sell more of our products. If the government raised taxes, we would increase our prices. If our supplier went out of business, we would have a big problem. And if I were you, I would call IT support. So first we're going to read the information below, then listen to the conversation and answer the questions. Ahmed is from the UAE and Carl is from Germany. They are working on a project together. As the deadline nears, Ahmed is worried that they are never going to have everything completed in time, so he goes to Carl's office to discuss his concerns.
Hey
Hey
Carl,
Carl,
how's it
how's it
going?
going?
How was your weekend?
Hey, Ahmed. It was good. We mostly stayed home and relaxed.
That sounds nice. Listen, Carl, I was hoping we could discuss this new project. The deadline is soon.
Yeah, the project has been harder than expected. It will be great when everything is complete.
Yeah, what do you think about the project plan?
I think it's clear. We separated the project into many small milestones so we can keep track of our progress as we go along. Do you think that there is something we missed?
I guess we have covered everything.
I'm sure we will do a great job.
Yeah, it will be difficult, but I will do my best.
So how does Carl feel about the project? Well, he did say that it had been difficult, but he still felt confident that they would finish on time. How does Ahmed feel? He seems to feel a little bit more nervous, that it's maybe not going to finish on time. And do you think Carl fully understood what Ahmad was saying? Probably not. He kind of brushes him off. He doesn't really suggest that they double check anything or do anything to make sure that the project is completed on time. So I don't think he really understood how concerned Ahmed was. So now read about what happened next and discuss the questions. A few weeks later, Carl and Ahmed talk again. There have been a lot of problems with the project, and Carl asks Ahmed to explain. Ahmed said, I told you that we wouldn't be able to meet the timelines. Carl is surprised because he thinks that Ahmed never expressed any concern about missing the deadline. So why did this problem happen? It was because of the differences in their communication style. And who is telling the truth? I think in a way they both are. I mean, Carl is right because Ahmed didn't express, he didn't say directly that they weren't going to be able to meet the timeline. Um, but, you know, Ahmed thought he was communicating that to Carl, but he just did it in such an indirect way that Carl didn't pick up on it. All right, so here we can listen again and you can follow along.
Hey, Carl. How's it going? How was your weekend?
Hey, Ahmed. It was good. We mostly stayed home and relaxed.
That sounds nice. Listen, Carl, I was hoping we could discuss this new project. The deadline is soon.
Yeah, the project has been harder than expected. It will be great when everything is complete.
Yeah, what do you think about the project plan?
I think it's clear. We separated the project into many small milestones so we can keep track of our progress as we go along. Do you think that there is something we missed?
I guess we have covered everything.
I'm sure we will do a great job.
Yeah, it will be difficult, but I will do my best.
So what does Ahmed try say to try to tell Carl about the problem? Well, here where he says the deadline is soon, um, and then he seems a little hesitant, like, yeah, what do you think about the project plan? Kind of suggesting indirectly that there might be a problem with it. And then again, he hesitates, and he uses kind of uncertain language. I guess we have covered everything. And then at the end, he says, it will be difficult. All right, so we're going to listen to Josh, an American businessman, talking to Himari Hagemoto, his Japanese colleague. They are going to discuss the timeline for producing a new item. So what differences do you think there might be between American and Japanese communication styles? And what communication issues do you think might occur? Okay, we're going to listen to the conversation and then answer the questions.
The new product looks good, Hamari. It passed all tests with few errors. When do you think we can start producing it? I haven't seen a production schedule.
Maybe I should review the new features another time.
Quality control needs to know when it will go into production. Just tell me when you will fix the errors. If you let me know a date now, I'll relay the information to quality control.
Okay, Josh. If you give me some time, I'll talk with my team. Perhaps I can email you an estimate.
Couldn't you just tell me when the errors will be corrected? They seem like easy things to fix. Mr. Hagemoto, please give me a date.
Yes, whenever you prefer is fine.
Okay, let's say November 1st. That gives you 2 weeks to fix the errors. Is that okay?
Yes, that should be fine.
Okay, so what does Josh want Himari to tell him? He wants to tell him when production can start. And why do you think Himari doesn't tell him this information directly? He might be unsure of a specific date. He might feel that there are going to be problems and he doesn't want to promise a specific date. Or he might need to check something with his team before answering. And how can you describe Josh's communication style? He has a very direct communication style. And how can you describe Himari's communication style? He uses a very indirect communication style. So in the conversation, Josh decided to ask Himari directly what he wanted. So do you think Josh did the right thing? Why or why not? You can answer these in the comments. How do you think Himari felt? If you were Josh, what would you do in this situation? And if you were Himari, what would you do? And that brings us to the end of today's video. Please like, subscribe, share, participate in the comments, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.